Thank you, Sonia, and greetings and welcome everybody. Thank you to the National Council of Mental Wellbeing and to our partners over here. My name is Elise Gold. Along with my husband, Matthew Swerdloff, we are co-founders of the Maya Gold Foundation, a nonprofit that we co-founded in memory of our daughter, Maya, who tragically took her life. This nonprofit does a lot of work, Teen Mental Health First Aid being part of the work that we do, and I'm not here to share all the work we do, but at the end, feel free to ask us questions about it, and also there's going to be a QR code on the very last slide. I encourage you to snap a picture and check out our website and the good work that we do. So, Teen Mental Health First Aid, as all the mental health first aids, we've all heard the language, they're evidence-based. Matthew and I, when we got on board with training back in 2020, which was near the beginning of this rollout, we thought, let's see about our own evidence. You'll hear some more details, but part of this training, which is called Stats, Stories, and Successes, we're going to share with you some of the stats. We did our own research projects, and we're going to share with you, in different ways, the outcomes of that research.
Thank you, Elise. So, I'm assuming there's no researchers in the room, or maybe it's been a while since you took your stats courses, so I'm going to go over some really basic terminology that we're going to use in this presentation. So the first one is survey. So those of you, you're all trainers, or most of you are trainers, and you know that data collection is part of all of the mental health first aid trainings. So in Teen Mental Health First Aid, there's a pre and a post survey, and that's what we're talking about when we use the word survey. The sample, in our case, is a subset of the larger population. So Teen Mental Health First Aid, as Sonia said, is designed for high school students. So if you think of a typical high school, grades 9 through 12, might have 1,000 students. The sample would be maybe the one class that took the training with us, or the club, or the health cohort of students taking health. So it's a subset of the big population. The measure, which is kind of really the heart of what we're talking about, is essentially an instructional objective. It's what we want the teens to do more of or do less of as a result of the training. So these are the things we want them to learn, both positive behaviors and things that they shouldn't do. Significant, as you know, has a very specific meaning in terms of research. So for us, it means it's not just that it's important, it means that the data tells us that the outcome that we're seeing is a result of the training that we delivered. It's not chance. It's not a mathematical error. It's most likely because the teens took this training, we got this outcome. Obviously, that's what we want to see when we do any kind of training. Progressing. So progressing is kind of a notch below significance. Progressing means the outcome is moving towards significance. We didn't hit the bar for that statistical measure, but we're moving in the right direction. Regressing, the opposite of that. Those were the measures that were moving backwards. There weren't many of them, but there were a couple, so those are ones that are moving away from significance. And the last two, qualitative and quantitative. So quantitative, you can think of that as telling a story using numbers and statistics, and qualitative is telling a story using words and recollections from the teens. So our sample is from a region of New York State called the Hudson Valley. The students were drawn from the village of Yorktown, which is in northern Westchester, up to just south of Albany. We taught during this time period more than 277 teens, but that's the sample of data that we used for this study. So we didn't use all the data. It took place between October 2021 and 2024, so really the first couple of years of the rollout of Teen Mental Health First Aid. And it took place in 11 different sites: public school, private school, community centers, and even a summer camp. So we're going to talk about these two aspects, qualitative and quantitative. So on the quantitative side, We use the survey questions that were developed by Laura Hart. Some of you may know her. She is the researcher from University of Melbourne that has been instrumental with mental health first aid for many, many years. She developed the survey that is used, and we spoke with her when we started this process, and she kind of tailored some of the questions, not some of the questions, but it took a subset of the survey that we use, but they're her questions and it's her protocol. We used a methodology, and I'm getting the weeds here now, but there might be a researcher in the room. We used a methodology called Mann-Whitney, and Mann-Whitney is used when there's two conditions that are met. One, the data is skewed to the high end, and because of our particular demographic, either socioeconomic, cultural, whatever, most of the teens that took the pre-survey were already well along towards mastery of the content. So there wasn't a lot of room for growth. So the data was skewed to the right side on the x-axis. The other issue is that the data, unmatched, right. So the data was unmatched, and for those of you that teach teen mental health first aid, you know that we typically don't collect personally identifiable information from teens, so we did not have an easy way to match teen A's pre-class data with teen A's post-class data. So it's what is called independent unmatched samples. So it's a group of data from before and a group of data from after. The survey is basically a scenario. It tells a little story. It's like a mini case study about a young man named John facing a mental health challenge. And the teens are asked about certain behaviors. They're asked about things that they might do to help John and things that they shouldn't do that would be harmful for John. On the qualitative side, we emailed the teens that completed the training. We asked them if they would participate in video conversations. They sat down with Elise and I, and we really just talked to them about their experience of the training, and that's what we're going to be seeing in a few little videos. So this is the scenario. I'm not going to read it. You can skim it. Basically, John is a 16-year-old who is thinking about suicide, having a hard time, showing a lot of the signs and symptoms that you all know about. His parents are concerned. He's kind of depressed. He's talking about, things would be better without him. So that's the scenario that the teens read and then respond to. So the first group of measures that we analyzed are called helpful measures. These are things that we want to see more of. And there were two measures that were progressing, again, moving in the right direction, and also, again, because the data was skewed, so these are things that teens were perhaps already doing, but the training is reinforcing for them. So one thing is I would tell John that I noticed something was wrong and I want to make sure he's okay. So checking in, this is one of the key components of all of the trainings. Checking in with your friend, with your colleague, with another adult. And then getting help. So in the teen mental health first aid training, it's talking to a teen, having a teen talk to their friend about getting help from a professional. So those two were moving in the right direction. These two were significant, and we were really happy to see this. So the first one is suggest John tell an adult other than a health professional, and you can see the percentages from pre and post there. So really a good size jump there from 83 to 93. And then in bold, ask John if he's thinking about suicide. You can see a huge increase there. And I know you all know about the stigma around this and the misconceptions about if I ask someone, I'm going to give the idea and the fear that people have. So this is for us a huge takeaway and a huge validation of the training, that teens who took this training were 2 to 1 more likely to ask the question. And that's a big part of this training, is talking about it, talking about the stigma, talking about the misconceptions, and actually practicing this.
So in a moment, we're going to hear from Nev, one of the teens that took the training, and we asked her specifically, how would you help a friend? can you list some specific ways? What ways would you help a friend?
The best ways that I got from the program to help a friend was definitely the whole 5-step plan. So now I look for different signs that I see in my friends, and I always ask them, and I ask once, and if they say no, a couple days later I follow up just to make sure, as if they're not ready to talk or anything, I'm not going to pressure them. And if they are ready to talk, I'm there to listen, and then if I hear or see anything that is definitely something that a trusted adult needs to get involved in, that's when I get a parent or someone from the school or someone I know that I can trust and that they can trust, so that we could get this person help, which I have been doing that a lot lately.
Well put, Nev. So she is really putting, and we didn't feed her that information. It was spontaneous, and she was really naming the 5-step action plan. Look, ask, listen, help your friend.
So the next group of measures are called harmful measures, and these are things that we want to see less of. So this one was progressing, which means moving towards significance, and it's, would you ignore John? So fewer students after the training said they would ignore John. That's great. I want to see that. Again, we saw 2 harmful measures that were significant, and again, this means we're going to see less of it. There's sort of like a reverse, it's a negative response. Tell John what he needs to do to fix his problems. So we don't want to do that, and they're not doing that. And then we're really happy to see that the issue of suicide was was such a big takeaway for them that they would, 2 to 1, you can see the percentages there, that they would avoid talking about suicide because they might put the idea in John's head. In the 6-hour team mental health first aid training, it's almost an hour talking about the issue of suicide and supporting a friend who you might think is thinking about suicide.
So next up is Valentine, who we're going to hear from, and we asked her some of those very questions. What do you think about supporting a friend? How would you support a friend who might be thinking about suicide? And if you were to ask the questions, do you think it would be putting the idea in their head?
I think I definitely used to think that asking them would put the idea in their head, but after the teen mental health first aid training, I think it's much more important now to be direct. Because it's an uncomfortable topic, so I don't know how I would be direct, but I'd definitely try after learning how important that is. I think I would have in the past asked vague questions, because I would be still worried, but I think now if that ever came up with that training in mind, I would be direct to try to get to the answer as quick as possible so they can get help as quick as possible.
As Matthew said, we spend a significant amount of time with this topic, and in fact, there's one time that we model. We'll look one another in the eyes, and I'll ask Matthew, are you thinking about suicide? Matthew, are you thinking about killing yourself? Knowing that on the spot there, he's going to say no. The answer's going to be no. Then we do have a few moments to invite the teens, if they choose to, practice aloud with a partner in the safety of the class, knowing that the answer is going to be no. Why do we do this? Well, as Valentine said, it's an awkward question, and it's certainly one that we never hope or that we would want to ask. And the idea is that, if in the class, in the safety and comfort of the training, they have those words come out of their vocal cords and mouth, knowing that the answer is going to be no here, that if ever there was a moment that they did need to ask that question for real, it might be that much more easy. I appreciate seeing some of your heads nodding.
So the third group of measures are called spending time measures, and this is one of the key parts of the training again is talking to teens about stepping up and engaging with a friend when they start to see some of the warning signs. So these three are progressing, moving towards significance, and these two were significant. So teens were again more likely to, engage with John working on a project or going to his house. So all good news for us.
Here we asked Abby how she values spending time with a friend that might be experiencing a mental health challenge or a crisis, and if she could name some specifics.
So if I were to go and do something with that friend, like hang out over the weekend, or just invite them over to my house or something, like I think that would just be like a time that could be very helpful for them, even if it's just as simple as talking or just sitting in the same room together, because even that time is good and helpful for each other. And if they're not a friend that is like super close, trying to like bridge that gap and like become closer with them and support them in a way that is helpful for someone who is not as close to me.
So what I appreciate about Abby's answers, she, the second part talked about somebody that might not be as close. Because we can imagine, the 5-step action plan, and he uses the word friend, look, ask, listen, help your friend. But not everybody has friends that are looking after them. It's, really peer or someone you know. We administer first aid among strangers too. So Abby was bringing in some of the tools that she would use with somebody who's not really a friend with a capital F.
The next thing we looked at is what's called a confidence measure, and part of the training is to build confidence in teens to help them be more empowered to support their friends. Both measures, one measure, which is if John was a friend, how confident would you feel in helping him? That one was significant, and you can see, that there's a good movement there in building confidence of teens who took the training.
We'll hear again from Valentine, basically asking her that. On the continuum, on the spectrum, how confident would you feel since you took the training to help support a friend?
I would say I'm pretty confident that I can do it. I've been through some stuff in my life that makes me feel confident in myself and what I know and what has worked for me in the past. So I think I'm very confident in helping someone, but I do know that the burden isn't just on me, and I know that I can't handle that by myself. You need someone else. So I am confident, but something the training taught me was it's not all on you. You can't take on that much. You need the support system, you need the trusted adults, you need, it just can't all be on you.
Again, beautiful, just these pearls and bonuses. It's great to know that the teens are getting it. There's a segment where we teach as far as your role as a mental health first aider, what your roles are and what they're not. And in that case, Valentine was both needing the support of a trusted adult, but also she can do it all the time. And that's a lesson for us all.
So we also investigated people measures, and in the training, there's a section there where we talk to teens about different types of trusted adults, whether they're professionals or non-professionals. So professionals might be a social worker or a teacher, non-professional would be clergy or a family friend or parents, relatives. So of that list, close friends and family member were progressing, meaning I would go to this person if I needed help or help my friend go to this person, but almost all of them were significant. So we see through this data more of a willingness to get the help of an adult, which again is really an important part of this training, so that they're not in isolation, they're not keeping things secret. When they see a friend facing a risk, they're able to go to some adult, whether it's professional or not.
And Nev again is going to tell us about her circle of support, and does she value the support of a trusted adult?
I definitely see a value in having a whole circle, whether it's someone in your family or if it's like a certified professional, a therapist, a counselor at the school, or even a doctor, and just anyone to be there for you when you're going through a difficult time. It's very important because you never want to go through stuff like that alone. It's always good to reach out and talk to people that can help you, just in case, because you never know. You don't know what you could do to yourself, because lots of things can happen.
So aside from taking time to have the teens, after talking about value of trusted adults, they take the time to create their own individualized circle of support in the teen manuals. We encourage them to take out their phone and take a picture of that circle of support. Why? Because in case they're ever in crisis or have a friend that's in crisis, I know we've maybe all been in crisis at one point or another. It's hard to really think on your feet, like, gee, could I turn to? It's like, okay, I got this. So, yeah, Nev spoke to that. To summarize, we were delighted. As Matthew mentioned, the level of knowledge started pretty high. Of course, we would have loved statistical significance in all the measures, but it was actually impossible based on where people started. What we did find, because of all of the measures, or so many of the measures that were progressing, the training either reinforced, encouraged, solidified, validated what they already knew. And we were really doing and are continue to do a happy dance for some of the most notable measures that were significant, and that is helping a friend peer who is having suicidal thoughts and is considering suicide. So with that, I want to give a big shout out to our colleagues at the State University of New York at New Paltz, because they're the ones that we gave the data to, and they were able to put it in their tables and charts and make it meaningful for us in a way to present it to you, and that's Kathleen Tobin, Robin Jacobowitz, and Morgan Atwater. We will be taking questions at the end, but for now I am delighted to turn the mic and podium over to Stephanie and Jamie. Thank you all for being here.